The Azure Well-Architected Framework, sometimes called WAF, gives you 5 lenses to evaluate a workload: reliability, security, cost optimization, operational excellence, and performance efficiency. Here's the thing most summaries skip. These pillars constantly pull against each other. Maximizing one almost always taxes another. In the next few minutes, I'll walk each pillar, then show you the real tension points where reliability fights cost, where performance fights your budget, and give you a concrete way to make those calls instead of pretending you can max out everything at once. Quickly, what each pillar actually asks of you. Reliability is about meeting your availability and recovery targets, your SLO, recovery time objective, and recovery point objective, through redundancy and graceful failure handling. Security covers identity, network segmentation, encryption, and secrets management, ideally zero trust by default. Cost optimization means matching spend to value, not just cutting bills. Operational excellence is about deployment automation, monitoring, and learning from incidents. Performance efficiency is scaling resources to demand without over-provisioning. Each comes with a design checklist and a numeric score in the Azure Well-Architected Review tool. Here's the sharpest tension. Reliability says deploy across multiple availability zones, replicate your database geo-redundantly, and keep warm standby capacity. Cost optimization looks at that same design and sees doubled or tripled spend for capacity you hope never to use. A multi-region active-active setup might guarantee 99.99% availability, but cost 2 to 3 times an active-passive design that gives you 99.9%. The rule of thumb: let the business SLO drive the redundancy, not the other way around. If you don't have a written availability target with a dollar value on downtime, you can't honestly resolve this trade-off, you're just guessing. Security is the pillar I treat differently. You can trade reliability for cost or performance for cost, but you rarely trade away security to save money without regretting it. That said, security does have an operational cost. Enforcing managed identities, private endpoints, and key rotation adds friction to every deployment. The honest framing is that good security overlaps heavily with operational excellence. Automate it so the friction lives in pipelines, not in people. Use Microsoft Defender for Cloud to get a secure score, and treat anything touching customer data or identity as a hard floor, not a tunable dial. The second big tension is performance efficiency versus cost optimization. Performance wants headroom, bigger SKUs, premium storage tiers, generous autoscale ceilings, caching everywhere. Cost wants you to right-size and accept that P99 latency might creep up under load. The trap is provisioning for peak load you hit twice a year. The better pattern is autoscale plus a defined performance target. Scale out when you need it, scale in when you don't, and use reserved instances or savings plans for your steady baseline. Measure first. Over-provisioning to fix a problem you haven't profiled is the most common waste I see. Operational excellence is the pillar that makes the others sustainable. Infrastructure as code, continuous integration and deployment, observability with Azure Monitor and Application Insights, and blameless incident review. Why does it matter for trade-offs? Because automation lowers the cost of every other pillar. When deployments are scripted and repeatable, adding a second region for reliability is cheaper to operate. When monitoring is solid, you can right-size confidently instead of padding for safety. Weak operations make every other decision more expensive and more risky, so it quietly multiplies the cost of everything else you neglect. So how do you actually decide? Run the well-architected review in the Azure portal. It scores your workload per pillar against a checklist. Then prioritize by business impact, not by which number is lowest. Write down your availability target and the cost of downtime. Treat security and core compliance as fixed constraints. Then tune reliability, performance, and cost against each other within those constraints. Reevaluate every quarter or after any major architecture change, because both Azure services and your traffic patterns shift. The framework isn't a one-time audit, it's a recurring conversation with explicit, documented trade-offs. To recap, 5 pillars: reliability, security, cost optimization, operational excellence, and performance efficiency, and they trade off against each other. Reliability fights cost through redundancy, performance fights cost through headroom, security is your hard floor, and operational excellence lowers the price of everything. Your one concrete next step: open the well-architected review tool in the Azure portal and score one real workload this week. Then write down your availability target and downtime cost so your trade-offs are explicit. And because Azure pricing, SKUs, and recommendations change often, check the current Azure documentation before you commit to specific numbers. If this helped, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. See you in the next video.